Envision yourself entering a vibrant gathering, a space where numerous voices blend in continuous discourse, where joy permeates the atmosphere, and where individuals appear thoroughly immersed in their social interactions. There are grins, handshakes, and animated dialogues, a scenario many would deem the very essence of human connection, an occasion where individuals solidify their social ties and indulge in what they perceive as significant relationships. Now redirect your attention to an isolated individual positioned at the edge. They exhibit no anxiety, nor do they seem awkward or solitary. Instead, they appear utterly indifferent to the entire spectacle unfolding before them, absorbed in contemplation, their mind occupied by something far more compelling than superficial chatter and pleasantries. While others partake in light-hearted repartee, this person remains aloof, uninterested in trivial conversations, and untouched by the energy that engrosses the remainder of the crowd. What accounts for the frequent disengagement of intelligent people from social life? Is it conceit, introversion, or something considerably more profound? Could it be that elevated intellect naturally gravitates towards a preference for seclusion? And if so, why? Today, we will delve into the profound insights of Arthur Schopenhauer, one of the 19th century's most brilliant and unconventional philosophers. His views on intellect and social engagement challenge all our ingrained beliefs, and by the end of this discussion, you will grasp why highly intelligent individuals frequently find little to no value in social interactions. The ultimate revelation will be the most profound of all, one that might permanently alter your perception of your own relationships. Schopenhauer posited that intelligence and solitude are inextricably linked. The more intelligent an individual, the less they feel compelled to rely on social interaction for stimulation or affirmation. This is because their minds are inherently abundant with thoughts, concepts, and internal dialogue, rendering external diversions superfluous. In his foundational work, The World as Will and Representation, he elucidates that the average person seeks companionship because their mind feels empty when alone, whereas highly intelligent individuals possess an inner world so vast that solitude transforms into a source of pleasure rather than loneliness. This raises a critical question. Is social interaction truly essential for happiness, or is it merely a belief instilled in us from childhood? From our earliest years, we are taught that forming friendships, being amiable, and engaging with others are crucial for our well-being. We are led to believe that those who favor solitude are somehow missing out on life. Yet history presents a different narrative. Some of the most extraordinary minds, Isaac Newton, Nikola Tesla, Emily Dickinson, Franz Kafka, and Schopenhauer himself, opted to distance themselves from societal clamor. Were they unhappy, or did they simply comprehend something that eludes most people? Schopenhauer viewed socializing not as an intrinsic human necessity, but as a means of escape for those lacking profundity. He believed that individuals who crave constant interaction do so because they cannot endure the stillness of their own minds. To him, the majority of conversations are filled with banalities, gossip, and inconsequential exchanges that serve no genuine intellectual or personal objective. Conversely, the intelligent person is self-sufficient. They do not seek companionship out of necessity, but rather choose it discerningly when and if it serves a loftier purpose. But let us pause for a moment to reflect. Have you ever found yourself emotionally drained after social engagements? Have you ever observed that while others appear to thrive on social interaction, you often feel depleted, as if your energy is being consumed rather than renewed? If so, you are not alone. Many highly intelligent individuals report feeling disconnected from conventional social structures, not because they dislike people, but because they perceive the illogic of social imperative. Now, some might contend that humans are inherently social beings, that we evolved to depend on groups for survival and emotional well-being. And this holds true to a certain extent. However, Schopenhauer offered a different viewpoint. He believed that while social structures are valuable for practical matters such as commerce, cooperation, and external survival, they do not necessarily lead to internal fulfillment. In fact, he argued that excessive socializing frequently acts as a diversion from genuine personal development. He likened people to hollow vessels. Those with limited intellectual depth require external input, conversations, entertainment, social affirmation to feel complete. But those with rich inner realms do not require these distractions. Their thoughts, ideas, and creativity furnish them with an inexhaustible source of engagement, making solitude not only desirable, but indispensable for their intellectual and emotional flourishing. This concept challenges one of modern society's deepest presumptions, that being social is an inherent virtue. But is it? Or is it simply a means to avert the discomfort of being alone? Alone with one's own thoughts. Schopenhauer also identified another issue with societal engagement, one that intelligent people swiftly discern. Social interactions inevitably entail a degree of conformity. People often engage in predictable dialogues, adhere to societal norms, and suppress their authentic selves to assimilate. In contrast, highly intelligent individuals frequently resist this urge. They prioritize genuineness over acceptance, depth over superficiality, and reality over civility. This refusal to conform positions them as outliers, individuals who don't easily fit into conventional social expectations. This is why many brilliant thinkers have been misunderstood, marginalized, or even labeled as difficult or antisocial. It's not that they despise society, but rather that they perceive its illusions. They recognize that much of what people term connection is often merely a series of pre-scripted interactions, driven more by routine than by genuine meaning. But here's the crucial question. If intelligent individuals naturally gravitate towards solitude, does this imply that social life offers no value to them? Or is there a method for them to engage with society in a meaningful and fulfilling manner? This is where Schopenhauer's most potent insight emerges, an idea we will delve into deeply as we proceed, and the ultimate revelation promises to be transformative. Schopenhauer's perceptions challenge every preconceived notion we hold about the utility of social interaction. If highly intellectual individuals don't feel the constant need for companionship, what genuinely motivates their detachment? Is it merely a preference, or is there a profounder rationale for why social engagements feel superfluous, even draining to them? To address this, we must explore another fundamental concept in Schopenhauer's philosophy: the distinction between solitude and loneliness. He viewed loneliness as a state resulting from a lack of fulfillment, whereas solitude is a condition of self-sufficiency. Most people dread being alone, associating it with emotional emptiness, but an intelligent mind experiences solitude distinctively. In fact, Schopenhauer contended that solitude is not only advantageous, but crucial for those pursuing wisdom, self-reflection, and personal development. Consider this for a moment. Have you ever been surrounded by others yet felt utterly disconnected? Have you ever participated in a conversation only to realize its profound lack of substance? This precisely mirrors the sensation Schopenhauer described: the awareness that much of social life is predicated on superficiality rather than authentic intellectual or emotional rapport. In many respects, society conditions us to believe that being alone is unnatural, that isolation is something to be avoided at all costs. However, Schopenhauer held a different perspective. He asserted that solitude fosters the most profound forms of thought and creativity, while incessant socializing hinders genuine introspection. He famously wrote, __quote _1__. This concept is profound, suggesting that the demand for social interaction is often a type of dependence, an inability to comfortably engage with one's own thoughts. The intelligent individual, however, does not fear solitude. They welcome it because it grants them the liberty to contemplate, to innovate, and to comprehend themselves free from external influences. Reflect on some of history's greatest minds. Many lived in deliberate isolation, not due to an inability to socialize, but because they discovered deeper satisfaction in solitude. Isaac Newton spent years in seclusion while formulating his theories of motion and gravity. Nikola Tesla opted for a life of celibacy, dedicating himself entirely to his work. Emily Dickinson seldom ventured from her home, yet produced some of the most moving poetry ever written. These individuals were not lonely. They were immersed in the abundant richness of their inner worlds. But there's another underlying reason why intelligent people frequently distance themselves from social circles, one that extends beyond mere personal preference. Schopenhauer observed that the majority of human interactions are propelled not by a sincere exchange of ideas, but by social expectations, ego, and even underlying competition. He maintained that in social settings, people often seek validation over truth, and this can be immensely frustrating for those who prioritize intellectual honesty. Consider this in your own existence. How many conversations do you partake in that truly resonate with meaning? How often do you encounter individuals more interested in listening than in speaking? For highly intelligent people, these superficial exchanges can feel like a considerable waste of time. They see through the facades people present, the way individuals adapt their personalities to conform to social norms, the way they evade substantive discussions in favor of trivialities, the way they seek approval instead of truth. Schopenhauer was convinced that intelligence naturally leads to a heightened awareness of these societal interactions. The more cognizant an individual becomes of these dynamics, the less inclined they are to participate. He observed that highly intelligent people often struggle to find others who genuinely comprehend them, not due to arrogance, but because their thought processes are simply distinct. They perceive the world through a unique filter that eludes most, leading them to frequently feel like outsiders. However, this raises a complex query. If social existence is so frequently characterized by superficiality, should profoundly intelligent individuals completely withdraw? Do human bonds hold any intrinsic value? Schopenhauer offered a nuanced response. He didn't contend that all social exchanges are without meaning, only that the majority are. He proposed that discernment is paramount. Intelligent individuals shouldn't shun social life entirely, but should be highly intentional about their companions. He advocated for cultivating relationships rooted in authentic intellectual and emotional resonance, rather than mere social convention. He also drew a critical distinction between different forms of seclusion. There's solitude that fosters personal growth and introspection, and then there's solitude born of resentment or estrangement. The former is beneficial, while the latter can prove destructive. Schopenhauer cautioned against allowing intellectual superiority to devolve into disdain for others. He posited that true sagacity emerges from grasping the nature of society while simultaneously maintaining a degree of detachment. So, how do intelligent individuals navigate this delicate equilibrium? How can they embrace solitude without becoming entirely disconnected from the world? The solution resides in Schopenhauer's ultimate and most profound insight, one that unveils the fundamental reason why astute individuals often disregard conventional social life and what they pursue instead. His philosophy leads us to a profound realization, one that many intelligent people arrive at autonomously, whether consciously or instinctively. It's not that they outright reject societal engagement, nor that they lack the capacity for social interaction. Rather, they grasp a core truth. Most human interactions aren't predicated on genuine substance, but on necessity, routine, and social conditioning. This insight is transformative. If most people engage in social life not out of a deep yearning for connection, but from a dread of isolation, what does this tell us about the fundamental character of human relationships? Schopenhauer believed that much of what individuals label as friendship or companionship often originates from mutual need rather than authentic connection. This can be a challenging concept to embrace, as it contradicts one of our most deeply ingrained convictions, that relationships are inherently valuable. But Schopenhauer compels us to question, are they truly, or do we simply seek them out to avoid confronting ourselves? He contended that most friendships are transactional. People form bonds not necessarily due to profound connection, but because of shared circumstances like work, school, or convenience. When these contexts shift, the connection frequently dissipates. This explains why so many friendships fade over time. The bond was never genuinely about mutual understanding, but about external factors that no longer exist. Intelligent individuals discern this pattern, leading them to become more selective in their relationships. They refrain from investing in connections that lack depth or authenticity. This perspective isn't cynical, it's empowering. When you cease seeking external validation from social circles, you gain the liberty to forge relationships based on genuine alignment, rather than societal expectations. Schopenhauer himself was profoundly skeptical that social popularity or success equated to intelligence or personal fulfillment. He observed that the most profound thinkers throughout history were often reclusive, not because society rejected them, but because they chose a different path. Consider Leonardo da Vinci, for example. He was known for his deep introspection, preferring the quiet solitude of his studies to the distractions of social gatherings. His mind was consumed by ideas, inventions, and an unceasing quest for knowledge. He viewed social interaction as a potential diversion from his true calling. The same held true for Nikola Tesla, who famously stated that he never married, believing relationships would impede his work. These individuals weren't lonely, they were engrossed in something far greater than mere socializing. But what do intelligent people seek if not social affirmation? The answer lies in something Schopenhauer prized above all else: wisdom. He believed that the highest form of existence was one dedicated to the pursuit of knowledge and self-mastery. For those who think deeply, time spent in contemplation is far more valuable than time spent in idle chatter. Their interest lies not in being popular or socially dominant, but in understanding reality at a more profound level. This is where Schopenhauer's philosophical perspective takes a more extreme turn when he proposed that genuine enlightenment necessitates a form of disengagement, not only from societal interactions, but also from the prevalent deceptions most individuals embrace. He contended that the ordinary individual is ensnared in a cycle of perpetual distractions, endlessly pursuing recognition, affirmation, and superficial pleasures without ever probing the underlying reasons. Conversely, intellectually acute individuals naturally distance themselves from these pursuits, perceiving their ephemeral and often insignificant nature. Consider the pervasive element of performance inherent in much of social interaction. People meticulously craft their self-image, meticulously editing their communication and presentation to align with societal expectations. There's an unstated compulsion to conform, to be agreeable, to maintain appearances, and to sidestep uncomfortable truths. Yet for those who discern the superficiality of this system, participation becomes emotionally draining. Schopenhauer characterized this as the burden of clarity. The deeper your understanding, the less tolerant you become of illusions. This doesn't imply that astute individuals completely shun social engagement. Rather, they approach it with a distinct mentality. They are not defined by or excessively attached to it, viewing it as potentially beneficial at times, but ultimately non-essential for their profound sense of fulfillment. This explains why many intellectuals gravitate towards intimate, profound discussions over large gatherings, and why they seek out those who offer intellectual challenges instead of mere companionship. However, herein lies the central paradox. While intelligent individuals frequently retreat from social spheres, they are also uniquely equipped to comprehend human nature at its most fundamental level. Their introspection isn't a rejection of humanity, but an endeavor to grasp it from a clearer vantage point. Schopenhauer himself posited that true wisdom emerges from observing life without being fully immersed in its currents. Only by stepping back can one perceive the complete picture. This concept fundamentally questions our ingrained beliefs about the importance of social engagement. If profound thought naturally correlates with solitude, then perhaps the true benchmark of intelligence isn't social success, but the capacity to embrace solitude without feeling incomplete. This is a notion that contemporary society struggles to accept, as it challenges the widely held conviction that social connection represents the pinnacle of fulfillment. Yet, Schopenhauer compels us to ponder, is this truly the case? Or have we been indoctrinated to believe it because solitude is generally uncomfortable for the majority? As we delve into Schopenhauer's ultimate and most potent insight, we must confront the pivotal question. If intelligent individuals do not prioritize social life, what then do they value above all else? And how can this understanding revolutionize our own lives? The concluding revelation will prove to be the most profound. If discerning individuals do not place high importance on social connections, what truly holds preeminence for them? What imbues their existence with meaning, if not the endorsement, fellowship, or validation of others? Schopenhauer's deepest insight is both profound and disquieting. The highest form of contentment doesn't originate from external sources, but emanates from within. He contended that those pursuing happiness through social interactions are often chasing an ephemeral chimera, whereas those who cultivate inner depth, knowledge, and self-mastery achieve something far more enduring. At the heart of his philosophy lies the principle that human suffering stems from desires, our incessant longing for recognition, pleasure, and diversion. Most people, he observed, spend their lives in a state of restless pursuit, seeking relationships, status, and entertainment, convinced these will bring them joy. However, even upon realizing their desires, the gratification is transient. Soon, a new craving emerges, restarting the cycle. Intelligent individuals, conversely, are more apt to discern this illusion. They recognize that genuine contentment is not found in external validation, but in a life aligned with a deeper purpose and understanding. This explains their frequent withdrawal from superficial social interactions. It's not disdain for people, but a refusal to engage in distractions that divert them from their authentic pursuits. This realization is transformative because it compels us to consider, what if everything we've been taught about fulfillment is misguided? What if happiness doesn't derive from being surrounded by others, but from the cultivation of our own minds and spirits? Schopenhauer believed that the most intelligent individuals don't fear solitude because they have cultivated inner peace. Instead of seeking external stimulation, they nurture internal richness. They read, they reflect, they create, and they pursue knowledge not for social admiration, but as an intrinsic goal. He famously wrote, "The more unintelligent a man is, the less mysterious existence seems to him." In essence, those with deep intelligence and introspection do not perceive life in simplistic, superficial terms. They scrutinize, analyze, and seek deeper understanding, which often leads to a sense of estrangement from conventional society, a society that typically shies away from profound existential inquiries. However, this is precisely where Schopenhauer presents his most compelling assertion. Solitude is not just a preference, it's essential for anyone pursuing genuine wisdom. He cautioned that constant exposure to societal clamor can impede the development of independent thought. The expectations imposed by others, the pressure to conform, and pervasive distractions collectively divert individuals from their most crucial journey, the internal exploration. Consequently, he regarded solitude not as isolation, but as a path to liberation. He posited that history's most brilliant minds achieved their potential not by immersing themselves in social interactions, but by disengaging from them. By stepping back from the everyday concerns of society, they gained clearer insights into reality and dedicated themselves to loftier pursuits. This perspective challenges nearly every aspect of what modern culture teaches us about social engagement. We are incessantly encouraged to network, forge connections, and avoid being alone. Yet Schopenhauer compels us to reconsider. Is this truly indispensable, or have we merely been conditioned to believe so because society itself fears solitude? Historically, numerous prominent thinkers, artists, and innovators lived in states ranging from partial to complete detachment from conventional life. They held no interest in casual socializing or superficial amusement. Instead, they were absorbed by something far grander: their concepts, their work, their quest for meaning. Nonetheless, does this imply that social interaction is entirely devoid of merit? Schopenhauer did not extend his argument to that extreme. He acknowledged that human connections can be significant, but only when founded upon genuine intellectual or emotional depth. He advised against surrounding oneself with people merely to escape loneliness. He contended that if one must choose between superficial companionship and solitude, the latter is invariably the superior choice. So where does this leave us? Should we completely abandon social life? Not necessarily. However, Schopenhauer's insights provoke a radical shift in viewpoint. Rather than pursuing fulfillment through others, we must first discover it within ourselves. Instead of dreading solitude, we should embrace it as a means for personal development and self-discovery. Instead of chasing social approval, we ought to strive for knowledge, wisdom, and individual excellence. This culminates in the ultimate realization: highly intelligent individuals are unconcerned with social life because they have uncovered something far more precious: the capacity for independent thought, unrestrained creativity, and existence without the perpetual need for external validation. They grasp that true fulfillment is not found in the presence of others, but in the cultivation of one's own being. Now the question is posed to you: what would your existence resemble if you embraced solitude as a strength rather than a weakness? If you ceased seeking external validation and instead concentrated on your personal growth, how much more could you accomplish? Perhaps history's greatest minds were not anomalies, but trailblazers, and perhaps the path they trod, the path of introspection, independence, and intellectual freedom, is precisely the one that leads to the most profound form of fulfillment.